Throughout history, art has had to be altered due to controversies that arose as art broke the social norms of the time period. Ranging from the late 1500s through the 20th century, many pieces have been criticized, altered, and even destroyed due to different beliefs and views. Many opponents of controversial art often develop their beliefs about art based on religious views, social norms, and political opinions, while most artists, on the other hand, are just trying to fight for freedom of expression. Artists have always pushed the boundaries of social acceptance and appropriateness, but that does not mean that governments have the right to censor or remove controversial art. One of the first pieces of art that received criticism in the early 1500s was Michelangelo's sculpture David. This sculpture depicts the biblical character David from the story of David and Goliath. This piece received criticism because it was one of the first sculptures where a figure was depicted completely nude. This sculpture was commissioned as one of a series of statues of prophets to be positioned along the roofline of the east end of Florence Cathedral, but it ended up being placed prominently in a public square outside of the Palazzo della Signora. This sculpture symbolizes the defense of civil liberties embodied in the Republic of Florence. This piece received so much criticism due to the fact that he was completely nude and the intricate details made the sculpture look like a real man's body. The sculpture of David would have been like any other ordinary sculpture had it been censored by adding clothes to it. Without Michelangelo's courage to embrace the human body and turn it into art, the world of art would never be the same. Another of Michelangelo's pieces that received criticism was the painting The Last Judgment. This piece does not appear to be so offensive or inappropriate, but at the time many Catholics deemed this piece to be unholy. During the 1500s, nudity was shocking and offensive. Many religious figures believed that nudity in the painting took away viewers' focus from the religious message and drew their attention to the nude figures depicted. After receiving a large amount of criticism from many people, including Pope Daniel de Volterra, one of Michelangelo's pupils eventually painted the clothing over the nude bodies. Although the painting remained famous after being censored, some of the exceptional painting details were covered and cannot be seen now. By covering those distinctive details, not only the painting, but also the unique style of Michelangelo was altered due to censorship. By the late 1800s, nudity had been integrated into the world of art and not only accepted but revered. In 1865, Edward Manet released his painting Olympia, which depicted a naked woman lying down on the couch, modeled after Titian's painting of Venus of Urbino. In the painting Venus of Urbino, the woman depicted is identified as the Greek goddess Venus, lying down in a Renaissance palace. Titian had domesticated Venus by depicting her in an indoor setting, engaging her with the viewer by facing her towards the viewers and making her sensuality explicit. Although similar to Venus of Urbino, Manet depicted the women very differently. What made this piece stand apart from other paintings, including Venus of Urbino, was not her nudity or the fully clothed slave in the background, but the frontal gaze and characteristics which allow viewers to identify her as a prostitute. At the end of the couch Venus is lying on a small dog which represented fidelity, but in the painting of Olympia, the small dog was replaced with a black cat which represented prostitution. Conservatives claimed this painting was vulgar, and a journalist stated that if the canvas of Olympia was not destroyed, it is only because of precautions that were taken by the administration. Although this painting was criticized for the seemingly direct eye contact with the prostitute painted, that very look is what makes the painting so intriguing to people today. Without the intense stare and the details showing that she is a prostitute, the painting would have been regarded as nothing worth noting due to its similarity with the Venus of Urbino. Because of Manet's boldness, he made his painting famous due to its controversial aspects. In 1992, an artist from California named Claudio sought permission to create an exhibit in the Raleigh Federal Building, following the Public Buildings Cooperative Use Act, which permitted federal building spaces to be available to the public for different cultural purposes. Claudio had managed to keep his painting covered until it was mounted, and when unveiled, viewers were shocked at a visual horror entitled Sex, Laws, and Coat Hangers. Observers were shocked at the sight of the oversized depiction of a nude woman, a coat hanger, and a fetus. Minutes after unveiling, the General Services Administration Field Office Manager Stephen S. Grant informed Claudio that his revocable license was revoked. Grant's statement of revocation declared, Although your display may be in the form of art, it is more properly described as a political expression concerning the highly controversial issue of abortion. This highly criticized piece of art led to the case of Claudio versus the United States, where Claudio sued, but the district court ruled that the building was non-public and permitted the government to disallow the display. Although the painting is a bit vulgar to be displayed in such a public area as the Raleigh Federal Building, the exhibit meant a lot to different people, and removing the painting was not fair. Over the years, art has been censored, criticized, destroyed, and even the subject of lawsuits, but the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution affirms artists' right of freedom of expression. Fearless artists who produce controversial art might test the limits of freedom of expression, but can governments be allowed to dictate art or other controversial aspects of our everyday life? While critics believe that some art might offend their social or religious beliefs, scenes of murder and sexually degrading scenes of women are shown on television every day. If the government were to enforce censorship, then it would have to not only be enforced in art, but also television, computers, and even cell phones. America is known as the land of the free, and a free society is based on the belief that every individual has the right to whatever art, entertainment, and education they want to receive or produce. So under this widely praised provision for freedom of expression, the government does not have any right to censor or remove controversial art. Freedom of expression for ourselves is only sustainable with the understanding that others obtain this right as well.